The Nightmare Before Christmas premiered 30 years ago, and I've never really seen this debate come to fruition within the community. So I think it's time for us to actually have this discussion. Is Nightmare Before Christmas a Christmas classic or a Halloween classic? Christmas has always been the time of year that many people associate with spending time with family, the gift of giving, and simply enjoying the company of family and loved ones alike. A majority of these movies follow these themes to a T. Not to mention some of the materialistic aspects within the holiday is also something that people deem to be enough for it to be a Christmas movie. Nightmare Before Christmas certainly shows that as well in some of its aspects. Here are the perks that I believe can make the perfect argument for it to be a Christmas movie. So I think the first thing that we can easily look at when it comes to considering this to be a Christmas classic is the time period the movie takes place in. In the beginning of the movie, we all know it starts in Halloween Town as they celebrate the holiday they are assigned to, which is Halloween obviously. So that would be our starting point. Then the movie goes all the way to Christmas Day, which is almost a 2-month span. Outside of the day it was celebrated, and maybe November 1st if you want to nitpick, Halloween wasn't discussed as the focus at all. Throughout this time period, Jack and the rest of the Halloween Town citizens were mainly focused on what made Christmas special and have aspirations of doing a holiday version of imperialism. With Jack being the leader of this town, his obsession and aspiration for this new discovery of Christmas and the lack of interest in Halloween seems to have gotten right up until the end of the film is what makes it easy for anyone to see this as a Christmas classic, more so than a Halloween one. Now let's talk about the usual structure when it comes to your standard Christmas movie. We see a protagonist wanting something that is materialistic or not seeing the entire picture of what Christmas is about. However, as the story goes along, the character gets the glimpse and learns what he actually needs and truly understands what the holiday is truly about. Same can be said within this classic. Jack fits the mold of the type of story that is common in Christmas films, but in a different way from what we're used to. For Jack, he was obsessed with the vibe Christmas gives as a holiday. He wanted to discover what made Christmas so special and wanted to bring that formula within Halloween. He goes extremely far into studying various items regarding the holiday and was even willing to experience the actual holiday himself, which was a complete disaster. However, during that, he does recognize being true to oneself and was willing to help set things right to save Christmas, which in return Santa gave Halloween Town a piece of what Jack has experienced in the beginning. The story being written the way that it is and the lessons that you learn from them really gives The Nightmare Before Christmas a strong case to be more a Christmas movie than a Halloween one. Now we all know how Christmas movies love to make references to the classic Christmas tales or carols, not to mention showing various amounts of Christmas items we all come to know and love, and the other Christmas films that many are fond of. Nightmare Before Christmas does do that within the film quite a bit too, with an entire song that is a banger for the holidays, as well as featuring a plethora of iconic Christmas items. If there was one thing a Christmas movie loves to do, it's pushing the items you would see within various stores that persuade you to buy in order to deck your house with a Christmas swagger. Fa la 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 la. I made a stupid joke. Oh my god. Anywho, Christmas movies are mainly known to push the Christmas theme to its core, and does reference some of the classics we can easily recognize. Their biggest example being the Rudolph reference with Zero. These points really make it seem pretty obvious that The Nightmare Before Christmas is a Christmas-focused film. I mean, after all, Christmas is in the title. However, don't be fooled just because Christmas is being plastered all over this film. After all, Nightmare is in the title as well. And that means there are some spooky themes that can push this movie into a more Halloween vibe. Halloween classics. Those movies are definitely a lot more spicy compared to the Christmas films we come to know and love. While some of the classics within Christmas can get a little crazy, I think Halloween goes above and beyond in insanity, and the overall vibes within one gives a more chilly experience. The style within Halloween movies are not known to give a style that is pleasing to the eye, and there is a lot of suspense that the movies love to build up. While there are some lessons that Halloween movies dish out, the focus is about how to make a film iconic in being memorable in the spirit of fear. I've always believed that one of the tools that makes a Halloween movie is the overall aesthetics. When you think of spooky films, you need to be able to pursue a certain aesthetic to really sell the fear factor within the film. That is especially the case when it comes to animated Halloween movies. There was a lot of grunginess within those sorts of films, and it brings the creepy aesthetic out the most. Monster House and Coraline are the perfect example of that, which leads me to the animation choice that perfectly fits in the horror aesthetic, and that is claymation. Claymation has always been used to perfection when it comes to the films associated with it when finding the style that separates from the rest. And that is especially the case when it comes to a movie like The Nightmare Before Christmas. The models that are being used within the film really fits the tone the film is trying to go for. Throughout the entirety of the movie, there is a sense of uneasiness that is displayed with how the characters look and how well the film is shot. What pushes this movie is the atmosphere of turning these toys into monstrosities that can terrify any human being. The way they build up to the grand disaster when they create their own version of Christmas can easily place a lot of fear in a young mind with how Jack drives into madness with this obsession and forces his way into this holiday. So let's talk about the setting, shall we? Now, the setting itself is a major part of the aesthetic as well. The film took place in a variety of them. However, the main setting within the film has been in those aesthetics that I've mentioned prior, and that is in Halloween Town. Sure, we have seen Christmas Town a couple of times in the film, and it has the exact opposite feel, but we only see the setting twice throughout it. Once in Jax's discovery of the city, and the other with the planned kidnapping. Outside of those instances, the setting has always had an eerie tone that pushes this to be a darker tale compared to a majority of its Christmas-themed counterparts. Even within the night Jack travels the world, the neighborhoods we see are not as lively compared to others that are ready to celebrate Christmas. Having that visual contradictory to the wholesome Christmas story tropes we see can push the bar more into the Halloween side if people make the setting and aesthetics high on the list for any Halloween-themed film, which is what Nightmare Before Christmas has overall. Although there is one more thing I believe that does push Nightmare Before Christmas to be more on the Halloween side. Yeah, this movie is wild. Looking back at this movie prior to writing this, there was a lot of wild stuff that happens within the story that has me flabbergasted and how they were able to get away with some of their choices, especially in the early 90s. Don't get me wrong, there are some Christmas movies that can match the level of unhinged this movie shows. However, Nightmare Before Christmas is probably the most unhinged out of all of them by a pretty wide margin in my opinion. I mean, let's take Sally for example. If you look at Sally at the base of her design, she may seem super sweet and innocent at a glimpse, but when you actually watch the film, you realize that the woman is an absolute demon of a character. While yes, she seemed to be in a very toxic relationship with her father, to the point where daddy decided to make a wife that looks exactly like him. Take that as you will. The actions she does to get away from him are incredibly extreme, and that's me putting it lightly. First off, she drugged him on multiple occasions to sneak out. She literally jumped out of a 3-story building to see her crush, not to mention her trying to sabotage the plans by fucking up the entire town and using sexual antics to free Santa. Like, holy moly, she goes all in when she's dedicated. Let's not forget how this film had the whole military gunning down Jack to stop him from spreading Christmas jeers. Hell, Let's not forget how a kid casually show his parents a freaking head for a gift. There's so many examples I can give to show the amount of craziness these characters are willing to do in this movie that is more common to see in a Halloween movie than in a Christmas one. The closest Christmas family film that I can think of that can match that is probably Grandma Got Run Over by a Reindeer, but that's a story for another day. In the end, both sides of the argument have very strong cases to claim this movie as their own, whether it be themes or the aesthetics being the main focus of how you categorize the film. I think you can easily place this movie in one or the other. For me personally, if I had to choose one, I'd say it's more of a Halloween movie. Even if the story is focused on the Christmas spirit and figuring out what causes that holiday spark, as much as I enjoy some great animation and how it helps build the story is the largest thing to focus on. Story progression, relationships, and representation have always been my forte, so the strength of focusing on figuring out the passion for Jack and him recognizing that he should embrace who he is, which is the terrifying Pumpkin King. It has a bit of an ironic lesson to this story. Being yourself is a lesson a lot of Halloween movies go for, and it encourages Jack to do that and use his earned knowledge in making his next Halloween more special than the last. So while they were able to save Christmas and have a heavy amount of Christmas themes, I think the overall focus was Jack returning to his roots and embracing what he is, a scary monster. So that pushes The Nightmare Before Christmas to the Halloween side more just a little bit. What do you guys think? Do you consider it to be a Christmas classic you watch near a Christmas tree, or do you have it on during the scary times of Spooky Month? Debate your heart out in the comments below.